Hey guys, it's Emily Graziano, and we're gonna do a little video talking about my pickiness when it comes to 70s films and why that is. Now, disclaimer, I didn't set out to be this way. For context, I was born in 1996, so by the time I was born, a lot of these movies were not even 30 years old yet. They were, in the movies, of course, made in the late 70s. They weren't even 20 years old. So I just think that it's a really interesting thing why I think this. And I think a major part of that, my pickiness, because if I see like a major title from the 70s that's very famous, I can't just say, I'm gonna watch that because it's famous. I have to ask myself, well, who's in it? If there's an actor I don't like, I'm not watching it. Or I have to ask myself, well, I don't really like that genre of film. Or, well, I don't really care for that director. So I get very, very picky about it. Whereas, like, if you go in the 40s or the 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and I see a title, I'm like, well, that's famous. Maybe I should watch it. Because it's like, well, I admire this actor. And I admire that director. I want to see how well this holds up. But with the 70s, I don't know why I can't do that. It's just I get picky. And maybe that's because a handful of the actors, directors, their producers, whoever, maybe because they're still around today. And it's like, well, my perception's clouded by this today or what they did later or something like that. But mainly, I think I've come to the conclusion that the main reason why I'm pickier with 70s movies is when it comes down to it, I prefer 70s music over 70s movies, and that's really due to the fact that I was raised on 70s rock. Like, I'm talking bands like Kiss and AC/DC, Aerosmith, Queen, and I think for me, the cool factor that I associate with a lot of these actors that I like Cary Grant and Cary Grant and William Holden and William Powell and Clark Gable and Gary Cooper and all these great leading men, I kind of transfer that cool factor. It went over to the musicians. Like, all of a sudden, Sir Brian May, just interlude, Sir Brian May, people, we have Sir Brian May. I always knew it would happen. You know, he's the cool one. Paul Stanley's the cool one. Joe Perry's the cool one. Like, I transfer that sense of coolness that I have, and it goes over to the musicians, not so much the actors of the 70s. So I think that's really a big part of it. And don't get me wrong, there are some amazing actors who are great at their craft. It's just, to me, they don't have that cool factor that, say, Cary Grant has. And I think that's just my opinion. If you love the people that you love who made it big in the 70s, that's amazing. This is not, I'm trying to convert you or convince you in my opinion. This is my opinion, and I'm letting you on to an insight of why I think this. Now, do know that it's a generalized statement, though. Like, there are movies from the 70s that I really admire, which I will tell you a handful of them that I do admire. There is, on the other hand, music that I don't admire from the 70s, which I won't tell you about because this isn't like a 70s music video. This is a 70s movies video. So with that being said, I don't want this to all be negative. So I'm going to tell you 5 movies from the 1970s that are actually I would place on like a top 50 list or something like that. So I think I'm going to just go in chronological order to be fair because I don't want to give anything away. Like in the year. So the first movie that I want to say from the 70s that I really, really love and would consider a favorite is The Cowboys, John Wayne, The Cowboys, directed by Mark Rydell from 1972. This is possibly one of the best movies of John Wayne's career, and dare I say it, it's a movie that if you don't like John Wayne, you can actually get into because Mark Rydell, when he was recently on the John Wayne Gritcast, and he was talking about, I didn't know if John Wayne and I would get along. Our political differences are so opposite. I'm from New York, and he's from, he lives in Newport Beach, blah, blah, blah. And then when they met on the set for the first time, John Wayne goes up to him and he says, I want you to know that I'm going to really do the best job that I can, and I think that you, Mark Rydell, you're the best person to tell this story. And that just really shows you that John Wayne was a true artist in the sense of, I don't care what your political views are, I don't care what my political views are, we can collaborate on this piece of art and we're gonna make it the best that we can because we're the right people for the job. And I really, really love that. This was one of my late grandfather's favorite movies. My father, he saw this in the movie theater when he was working at the Colony. No, he was not working at the Colony. He went to see this in the movie theater though. And he did not go to see John Wayne movies at the movies growing up just because Westerns weren't really like his thing, but he went to see this and he really loved it. And it's just become one of my favorites. It's just really one of my all-time favorite movies, I think, ever. Second 70s movie that I would consider one that is one of my favorites is from 1973, I'm pretty sure. Or is it 72? Late 72, early 73? The Sting, Paul Newman and Robert Redford. This movie I like better than Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I don't know if that's sacrilege for me saying it, but I really enjoy this because it's actually a period piece in the sense of it's the 30s and it's made in the 70s, so it's kind of like a throwback thing almost, and it's set in old Chicago, and I really enjoy that. And while I know the ending either infuriates people or they think it's the most clever ending they've ever seen, I just think that it's so interesting to see the turn of events and like the double crosses and the cons that lead up to the final ending. I just think it's a fabulous movie. I want to give a shout out to my pal Mike, who told me, Emily, you gotta watch this movie. So thank you, Mike. Really great movie. I do consider it one of my favorites. Next, I saw this movie for the first time in high school film class. And I'm very sad to say that because I should have watched it way sooner, considering it's my own cultural heritage. Well, adopted cultural heritage, because remember, people, I'm Chinese, but I was adopted by... My father's 100% Italian Sicilian. In America, we say Italian. But if you would have asked his grandma, she would have been the first person to say, no, he's half Italian, half Sicilian, which Sicily is a part of Italy, so by me saying that, you probably guess. The Godfather, I would say the first one, in terms of this list, the first one is just a masterpiece. Well, the second one is a masterpiece too, but I placed the first one on this top five movies that I'm doing. Highly overlooked by me personally in my younger years, and even so, I can't believe it took me until high school to watch this. And I recently rewatched part one, and I understood it so much better now that I'm not in high school and I don't have to write down notes and everything. It's just the story and the character study of Michael basically becoming, like, transforming from that college boy war hero to being Don Corleone. Like, it's just amazing. And the family structure, like, this movie, The Godfather, probably puts spaghetti dinner importance high in its, like, in the fabric of its being. Like, the scene with him and Clemenza when he teaches him how to do the meatballs and everything, it's like, wow, this is so important. Like, our teacher tried to tell us, like, how the Italian culture was woven into this movie on family and importance and, like, dinner and everything. I'm like, well, that to me is just normal. Like, spaghetti dinners at my grandparents' house, just normal. And all the other kids are like, it's just spaghetti dinner. I'm like, no, you don't get it. So that was really cool. But The Godfather. Next, a movie from 1976. A movie that I was only interested because one person that I really love is in it, but it turns out I loved the whole movie overall after I watched it. Network. Oh my god, this movie is hysterically funny. It predicted the internet. It predicted sensationalism in media. It's really, really not dated at all. The only thing that gives it away is the technology, of course, and the actors who are in it are either so young or, oh, they're not here anymore. But I'll be honest, Bill Holden was the pull for me because I love Bill Holden. But overall, this movie is just an essential. I really enjoyed. Sidney Lumet is a genius, and I think that's all I want to say about it at the moment. But yeah, Network. Mad as hell. Okay, and this last one is a little bit of a cheat because technically it's a TV movie, but if you think about the fact that in Europe, its European cut was actually shown in movie theaters, I think I can get away with that. And I'm foreign myself, so I think I can get away with this. That's a really, really lame excuse. But anyway, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. This is we transferred my mom's VHS to this DVD, but Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, Kiss Attack of the Phantoms, the European cut, which is different, was shown in theaters in Europe and other territories, but not here in America. But come on, I had to put this on here. I don't care if it's a cheat, but one of the top 5 movies of the 70s that I really admire had to be on there. So I think for me, all those movies have in common either a subject matter that I really like, an actor that I admire, or they're just brilliant in general. Like, it doesn't matter the time period in which it was made. It was just a good story. It was a good screenplay. It was a great director. Like, all those things came together, and it just so happened to be made in the 70s. But with that being said, you guys, now I'd like to tell you 5 movies from the 70s that I totally regret watching. And these are just in random order that I can tell you them in order that they came out. Okay, so number 1, from 1970, Disney's The Aristocats. I hated that movie when I was little. Oh my god, it was so boring. I didn't like the cats. To me, it was not like Lady and the Tramp, which is a masterpiece in my opinion. I didn't care about the music. I didn't care about the characters. I thought it was a boring narrative. I will never watch that movie ever again. Okay, up next. From 1971, directed by Blake Edwards, his only Western. Thank God for that, because he can't direct Westerns. The Wild Rovers, with William Holden and Ryan O'Neal. I don't like Ryan O'Neal. I don't think he's hot. I don't think he can act. I don't like him at all. And the fact that Bill Holden is in this movie made me want to watch it. And when I put it on the DVR on TCM, my mom's like, why do you want to watch this? I'm like, well, Bill Holden's in it. She's like, yeah, but Ryan O'Neal is also in it. I'm like, oh, is he like a bad actor? She's like, yeah, he can't act. I'm like, oh. And she's like, well, just leave it. And I'm like, because I did ask her, do you want me to delete it? And she's like, no, you can just see for yourself. And I did. That movie is terrible. The ending is pointless, and it has this unnecessary, stupid, embarrassing 5-minute sequence of William Holden riding on a horse and just Ryan O'Neal cheering him on. It's like, what is the point of this? This is the most pathetic sequence I've ever seen ever, and it was just horrible. Like, and then towards the end, when Ryan O'Neal's character has that leg injury, it's just like, you can't act. I don't believe your leg is broken at all. No, God, I can't say anymore. I'm going to say, like, really mean things. But I will never watch that movie ever again. I totally regret watching it. Up next, from 1973, The Way We Were. I am sorry if you love this movie. If you love this movie, all the more power to you. That's fantastic. I cannot stand this movie because I think Barbra Streisand's character is really despicable. Like, I get the fact that, oh, they're polar opposites, but it doesn't matter, they love each other. It's like, well, like, I'm on Robert Redford's side. It's like, well, can we just have this dinner and not talk about politics? Can we have this dinner and just enjoy being in each other's company? And I don't think it's romantic at all. I don't believe in the love story, and it's like, well, if I were having to be in, like, Robert Redford's shoes, for instance, I'd break up with Barbra Streisand too. Like, I wouldn't want to go, like, continue to be, I don't remember, they got married, yeah. I wouldn't want to continue to live my life with Barbra Streisand's character, someone who's, like, always for the cause. It's like, can you just breathe and have this dinner here? I will never watch that movie again. While the title track May Live Forever, the music, the movie does not. I'm sorry. I know it's celebrating its 50th anniversary, and let me just say, I like Robert Redford. He's one of my favorite actors who made it big in the 70s. I think he is the all-American man, like the last great all-American man that we have in this country. One of the country's last great leading men. But this movie is terrible. At number 4, from 1973 as well, the movie Breezy. Directed by Clint Eastwood, starring William Holden and Kay Lentz. This is a May-December romance gone wrong, and it's creepy. Okay, I'm okay with May-December romances like Gary Cooper and Audrey Hepburn in Love in the Afternoon, or Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly in Rear Window, or Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant in Charade. That doesn't bother me, but this is just bad. Okay, first of all, Kay Lentz, her character is 17. Underage. And then Bill Holden, his character, and in real life, by the way, he was in his early 50s. That's just freaking creepy. And you're expecting me to believe that they have this epic love story? Hell no. No. It was more borderline creepy than anything. It's like she isn't mature at all, and he's just looking to feel younger. Like, this is not okay, especially when you consider the movie kind of starts with Bill Holden breaking up with a woman who's appropriate for his age range, and then he gets with this 17-year-old girl. You're like, oh, she's just a rebound. This is not okay. This movie is not okay. So I regret watching that. Disclaimer, people, Bill Holden, he is one of my all-time favorite leading men. Right here, that's Bill Holden's picture on my wall, okay? I wouldn't have him on my wall if I didn't like him, even though 2 of his movies appear on this list. And last but not least, from 1976, A Star is Born. I'm sorry, this movie is not good, and I stand by that opinion. I don't believe Kris Kristofferson is a good actor. I think that their romance isn't believable. It's like Kris Kristofferson's this whiny dude, and I don't believe that he actually, like, he should stick to singing, because he can't act. Like, he can't act. And Barbra Streisand's character, she's kind of mean to him, and it's like, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to be with her either. Like, she's way too rude to him, and it's just like, ew. This movie is not okay. It doesn't really capture the essence of 70s rock and roll either, because Kris Kristofferson, while he's a musician, he's not exactly a rock star. Okay? You know, we need more of a Steven Tyler than whatever Kris Kristofferson was trying to be in that movie, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay. So, yeah. And along these lines, now I'd like to give you 5 movies of the 70s I refuse to watch. The Swarm, 1978. I don't like bugs, and to see, like, this movie, it would be my worst nightmare. Like, ew, I'm gonna watch a science fiction movie in which swarms of, like, all these bugs conquer the earth. Like, that would be my personal hell. I would not want to watch that movie. I don't care if, like, Fred MacMurray and Henry Fonda are in it. I don't want to watch a movie like that, because that would be my personal nightmare, my personal hell. Okay, up next, second movie I refuse to watch, Annie Hall. Let me just say, people, that Woody Allen is the definition of a first-rate creep. And I don't care if this movie is famous. What he did is creepy, unacceptable, and I don't approve of it. Him saying that, like, oh, well, Soo-Yin really isn't Mia Farrow's daughter because she's adopted. Like, that's BS right there. And then to him saying that, oh, you know, we didn't have a relationship at all, even though I met her for the first time when she was 11. And today, in, like, recent times, he said, oh, yeah, I have a very fatherly relationship with her. No, I'm not going to say anymore. Okay, third movie that I refuse to watch from the 70s. 1974's Chinatown. Roman Polanski is also the definition of a first-rate creep, people. And I know Jack Nicholson is in this movie, and Chinatown is like a neo-noir, and I actually like film noir. how can I, in good conscience, watch this movie? I hope you respect my opinion on the previous two, everybody. I really do. Okay, I'm not going to say too much more. Number 4, the movie that I refuse to watch from the 70s, Love Story. How am I supposed to believe that Ryan O'Neal can play the romantic lead when I don't even like him? Like, I would be like just cringing the whole way through. And for just to say, I don't really like Ally McGraw that much, so I don't think I'd want to watch this movie. The only appeal to me is that it's Ray Milland. He plays the dad, and I like Ray Milland. He's a Welshman, everybody. Ray Milland's Welsh. Very handsome. But even that is not enough of a pull for me. Okay, and the number 5 movie that from the 70s that I refuse to watch, 1978's Animal House. That is not my style of comedy. I know if that is people's style of comedy, it's one of the best and it works. But for me, that's not my style of comedy at all. Watching, like, I can't do stupid comedy where, like, your brain cells are dying by you taking in these images and montages and everything. I need smart, witty comedy that is like it's kind of like in the dialogue, it's in the way people carry themselves, if they're humorous, but I can't do Animal House style comedy. Enough said. I don't want to be too negative, but now let's go back to something that's positive. There are some movies from the 70s that I really do want to see. I want to see 1976 Midway, because it's like one of the last great epic war movies, like all-star epic war movies. I want to see 1973's Serpico. I hope I'm saying that right. Serpico. With Al Pacino, directed by Sidney Lumet. Al Pacino, along with Robert Redford, I think are my favorite male stars of the 70s. And thank God they are still with us today. I really want to see that. It just looks interesting because I think I like the star, I like the director. Number 3, from 1979, The Electric Horseman. This movie looks really interesting. Jane Fonda and Robert Redford always have good chemistry, although I do not like the 1966 movie The Chase. Nothing can save that movie. That was a disaster. I regret watching that. But I really like Barefoot in the Park, and this is supposed to be, I think, just as interesting. And Robert Redford on a horse, you know, being a cowboy type of guy, I think totally get into that. I really want to see that. Okay, number 4, from 1972, it's a British film called Endless Night. It's the adaptation of an Agatha Christie novel. I really want to see that. Like, oh my god, Juliet Mills is in it, like, as an adult, and I'm totally interested in seeing that. And it's British, and it's supposed to be very Hitchcockian, and I'm really interested in it. And number 5, 3 Days of the Condor from 1975. Now, I don't really like political thrillers or whatever that genre is, but this just looks interesting. The director's good. One of those famous Robert Redford, Sidney Pollack collaborations. Faye Dunaway's in it. There's supposed to be a really cool, like, side romance. And Robert Redford, he just looks really freaking hot in the movie. Like, his glasses and his clothes and just, oh my god, it's timeless, it seems. And it just looks really, really good. So, and then, guys, I wanted to mention these movies that I really enjoy as, honorable mentions. I think, the 1974 adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express is actually a really great movie. Again, it's Sidney Lumet. Maybe it's just Sidney Lumet that I like, but this is all-star cast. I'm talking Lauren Bacall, and Albert Finney, and Anthony Perkins, Sir Sean Connery, Martin Balsam, Vanessa Redgrave, Dame Vanessa Redgrave. She's a dame now, everybody. And, you know, best of British and American, and even, like, international cast, because, like, I think Ingrid Bergman, she's in this. She won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. This, I think, is just a great movie. Love it. And then I wanted to mention John Wayne and Big Jake. It's not one of his essential movies, but I think this is a fan favorite movie because it's Maureen O'Hara, his best leading lady. It's Patrick Wayne playing his son, just like real life. It's, you know, Chris Mitchum and Harry Carey Jr. and Bruce Cabot and Richard Boone. It's a personal favorite of mine, and I think it's a personal favorite amongst John Wayne fans. Not really critically the best, but it's like a sentimental fan favorite, and I think that's what really matters in terms of movies living on and everything like that. So wanted to give shout outs to those movies. But guys, yeah, 70s has such an interesting background, and I'm not opposed to them. It's just, I guess I'm more picky to them. But as you can, I think by the titles that I just mentioned, like what I like, what I regretted, what I will not watch, what I want to see, will give you a real hint of the way I approach 70s movies in general. And it's just interesting in conversation, I think. I'm not wanting to change you or convince you or make you see my point of, like, convince you to think in my point of view. It's just more so I'm letting you see an insight into me and have a conversation on 70s films, because let's face it, they even look different. Because from what I've gathered, silver nitrate in film stock is kind of what gave it that glow, but nitrate film got only more expensive over the years, and it's highly flammable, so to make it safer and less expensive, they started to remove that from film stock. And unfortunately, that's also the element that gives films like from the 50s and the 40s that glow on the silver screen. Especially, it's more evident in black and white, but even in color, that's why we get that faded look in a lot of 70s films, like the early 70s, before they started using technology to get back some of that glossiness. But yeah, this has just been an interesting conversation on 70s films. Do you have any favorite movies from the 70s? And if so, what are they? Do you have great memories of going to the theater in the 70s? Or you can leave any type of 70s film-related comments in the comments below, and I will answer them. Thank you for watching this. I hope it wasn't too long, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Emily Graziano. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.